At 79, Barry Gibb has finally acknowledged a painful and long-hidden truth about his twin brother Robin, a revelation that fundamentally challenges the cherished Hollywood image of the Bee Gees. Although they accumulated vast wealth singing about love, the brothers actually lived within a reality defined by cold bitterness and fierce competition. As the final surviving member of this legendary group, Barry now carries a devastating and permanent regret that reshapes how their legacy will be remembered. Being the only person alive who knows the intimate secrets behind some of music's most iconic songs is his daily burden. With all his brothers gone, he remains alone with the original master recordings, countless memories, and a heavy confession he concealed for many decades. Throughout their career, the Bee Gees maintained an impeccable public image. Whenever Barry, Robin, and Maurice performed together, their voices merged so flawlessly that audiences genuinely believed the brothers shared a psychic connection, which seemed the only way to explain their extraordinary musical chemistry. Yet beneath this beautiful exterior lurked a turbulent and complicated truth. Away from the spotlight, the siblings struggled to form genuine personal bonds, and the perfect harmonies they produced on stage actually concealed a profound emotional detachment that endured throughout their lives. Careful analysis of vintage interview footage confirms what millions of viewers long suspected: an unmistakable chill existed between Barry and his twin Robin. When cameras weren't rolling, they seldom stood near one another, and during interviews they rarely exchanged direct eye contact. The public witnessed what appeared to be a close-knit brotherly unit, but the stark reality was far more frigid. Outside the recording environment, they essentially operated as professional colleagues who maintained completely separate existences. Approaching the twilight of his life, Barry has finally begun discussing the fractures in their relationship. His sorrowful confession regarding Robin fundamentally alters our understanding of the Bee Gees' complete body of work. To appreciate why his statement proves so startling, we must comprehend how two siblings could compose the world's most beloved love songs while remaining utter strangers to each other. The Bee Gees achieved global stardom with remarkable speed, ultimately selling over 220 million records worldwide. They crafted a distinctive sonic identity that came to characterize an entire generation of popular culture. To outsiders, their musical connection seemed indestructible, strengthened by their blood relationship. When they sang, it sounded as if three men shared one collective spirit. However, away from the studio, their dynamic was anything but smooth. They frequently clashed, driven by oversized egos, divergent creative visions, and accumulated resentments. Fortunately for their reputation, their management team worked tirelessly to keep these disputes hidden from the public eye. Over numerous decades, television appearances depicted a unified group of brothers who laughed easily and completed one another's thoughts. This cheerful family portrait represented a carefully constructed facade, aggressively protected by their handlers. Nevertheless, for those paying close attention, the indicators of trouble were consistently present. They remained caught in an unspoken contest, performing together as an ensemble while progressively growing apart as siblings. Most observers attributed this tension to their rapid accumulation of wealth and celebrity, but the actual source of their conflict originated much earlier, during their impoverished childhood. Prior to achieving international fame, the Gibb family resided in post-war Manchester, England, where financial resources were severely limited. Despite their natural musical talents, their parents found themselves overwhelmed by the responsibility of raising 5 children amidst extreme economic hardship, within a chaotic household where daily survival remained a pressing concern. During this stressful period, young Robin developed a disturbing and dangerous compulsion. He became notorious locally as a pyromaniac, exhibiting an alarming obsession with igniting matches and setting fire to neighborhood billboards. This juvenile misconduct quickly drew the attention of law enforcement, creating significant alarm within the Gibb household. The situation deteriorated to such an extent that Manchester police officials requested the family relocate, an ultimatum that precipitated an abrupt and transformative move. In 1958, the Gibbs gathered their limited belongings and journeyed to Redcliffe, Australia, hoping to begin anew. Although settling in a different country appeared promising, it failed to improve their financial circumstances. To contribute to the family's basic needs, the young brothers turned to their vocal abilities. They started performing at local racetracks, singing between horse races for minimal compensation, and participated in every available talent competition simply to get by. Before long, they officially formed a group, with Barry as the eldest assuming leadership responsibilities. They quickly gained recognition within their local community and eventually throughout Australia. However, achieving the level of success they envisioned required a significant return to England, a choice that would unintentionally spark the band's first major rupture. During early 1967, the brothers boarded an ocean liner bound for England, impoverished yet determined. Before departing Australia, their father had forwarded a package containing their demonstration recordings to NEMS, a prominent London entertainment enterprise managed by Brian Epstein, who also handled the Beatles. Through an extraordinary stroke of fortune, these tapes reached Robert Stigwood, a company director and ambitious executive actively searching for the next musical sensation. The demo tracks immediately captured his interest. Upon the Gibbs' arrival in England, Stigwood promptly arranged an audition and offered them a contract without hesitation. Under his guidance, their professional lives advanced with astonishing speed. He invested substantial resources in their promotion and arranged access to premier recording facilities. Almost immediately, the Bee Gees achieved major success with songs like New York Mining Disaster 1941, catapulting them from complete destitution to a glamorous lifestyle filled with unprecedented wealth. This abrupt ascent to fame, however, only intensified the concealed rivalries simmering among the brothers. The critical breaking point occurred in 1969, sparked by a single record release. Robin had composed a track titled Lamplight, convinced it would become their greatest success. Meanwhile, Barry had written First of May, equally certain of its commercial potential. When Stigwood and Barry selected First of May as the primary single, Robin felt completely marginalized and publicly embarrassed. For an ambitious 19-year-old, this rejection represented a significant humiliation. This overwhelming success imposed a severe psychological burden on Robin. His characteristic emotional vibrato, which had anchored their greatest early recordings, was abruptly demoted to basic background vocal support. Despite earning enormous financial rewards, his individual artistic identity became completely subsumed by his older brother's dominant presence. During their massive stadium tours in the late 1970s, Robin developed a strict coping strategy to manage the mounting pressure. He began mentally and emotionally detaching himself from the ensemble, essentially becoming a ghost within his own band. He performed his vocal parts flawlessly on stage, then retreated into absolute seclusion the instant performances concluded. To prevent their fragile, high-stakes empire from disintegrating, the brothers established rigid, unspoken operational protocols. As their fame reached unprecedented heights, their internal dynamics grew increasingly impersonal. To prevent Barry from assuming total authority, every significant choice, from album track selection to radio single decisions, required strict majority approval. This system prevented Barry from exercising dictatorial control but transformed their creative process into political maneuvering. Robin utilized these regulations as emotional protection against his anxieties, developing an obsessive preoccupation with monitoring music charts and radio airplay statistics across international markets, spending countless hours analyzing data from various countries in search of external validation. This relentless pressure converted their songwriting sessions into frantic, unspoken competitions. The brothers additionally agreed that whoever originated a song's core melody or opening lyric automatically claimed the lead vocal performance. The sole factor allowing this arrangement to persist was Maurice Gibb. As the fraternal twin, Maurice selflessly suppressed his own ambition to mediate between Barry and Robin's ongoing conflicts. He represented the primary reason the band remained intact, and his stabilizing influence maintained the Bee Gees' functionality across decades. However, when tragedy arrived unexpectedly, this vital anchor was suddenly removed. The family had previously endured substantial loss in 1988, when their youngest sibling Andy Gibb died at 30 from cardiac complications. After years of severe substance abuse and repeated rehabilitation attempts funded by his brothers, his body ultimately failed. His premature death left Barry, Robin, and Maurice struggling with profound survivor's guilt, perpetually questioning whether additional intervention might have saved him. Nevertheless, the three remaining brothers maintained their rigid internal system, continuing to depend on Maurice as their peacekeeper. Yet this delicate safety structure collapsed abruptly in 2003 during another medical emergency. Maurice was hospitalized with an intestinal obstruction and subsequently suffered fatal cardiac arrest. This news caught Barry and Robin completely unprepared, instantly destabilizing their professional foundation. Without their mediator, Barry declared the Bee Gees effectively finished, promising never to perform under that name again. This loss propelled the two surviving brothers along dramatically different grieving paths. Barry descended into profound depression, spending months inactive, unable to compose music or engage with the public. Robin, conversely, attempted to escape his grief by immediately arranging international solo tours. This contrasting response sparked renewed hostility. While touring, Robin began performing classic Bee Gees material alone, even assuming Barry's famous falsetto vocal lines. Observing from a distance, Barry experienced profound betrayal. To him, these vocal arrangements represented sacred family heritage, and Robin performing them solo intensified his pain. With their mediator deceased and their shared legacy transformed into competition, the remaining brothers completely discontinued communication, entering an extended period of absolute silence. For multiple years after Morris's death, Barry and Robin maintained total communicative isolation. Accumulated sibling rivalry, intensified by the trauma of losing two brothers, created an enormous emotional chasm. Rather than supporting each other through grief, they weaponized their wounded pride, constructing an impenetrable barrier of silence that left them completely separated. While Barry remained secluded in his Miami residence, Robin launched an aggressive solo campaign, performing constantly across numerous countries. He continued pursuing the individual acknowledgement he believed had been withheld during his peak career years, needing to demonstrate his capacity to fill arenas independently. Complicating matters further, Robin managed a turbulent personal life in England, involving an unconventional marriage arrangement and a widely publicized relationship with his housekeeper that produced a child. These personal distractions and media controversies consumed his attention, further separating him from Barry, who maintained a more traditional, private lifestyle in Florida. Some observers contend that the genuine tragedy during this period, following their brothers' deaths, was the squandering of precious time. Here existed two aging music icons, extraordinarily wealthy and geographically close, yet completely paralyzed by their mutual stubbornness. Neither sibling possessed the emotional capacity to initiate reconciliation. This silence continued indefinitely until fate cruelly intervened when Robin received a terrifying terminal diagnosis. Robin had been thriving professionally, releasing a solo album just 1 month after his twins' death and immediately undertaking an exhaustive world tour throughout 2004. Performing across Germany, Russia, and Asia. For 7 years, this intense schedule maintained his momentum, but his physical health progressively deteriorated. While preparing for additional performances, he experienced severe abdominal pain requiring emergency hospitalization, where physicians discovered a tumor and eventually diagnosed colorectal cancer that had metastasized to his liver. Characteristically private, Robin concealed this medical information from both the public and his family for several months. He refused to allow illness to interrupt his work, demonstrating remarkable determination to continue performing despite significant physical suffering. He invested his remaining energy into composing an ambitious classical work, the Titanic Requiem, alongside his son. As he developed the orchestral arrangements, his physical condition continued declining, yet he persistently pushed forward in the recording studio. By April 2012, Robin had become too weakened to attend the prestigious London premiere of his classical achievement. He contracted pneumonia, lapsed into a deep coma, and ultimately died on May 20, 2012. This medical crisis abruptly terminated the extended silence between the surviving brothers. Robin's death left Barry completely isolated as the last remaining member of the four Gibb brothers. The historic trio that had defined an entire musical generation was officially concluded. The world mourned a legendary artist, but for Barry, the genuine inner torment was only beginning. This emotional journey culminated in a touching admission he eventually made at 79. As the sole surviving family member, Barry experienced an emotional upheaval that became public in January 2021. During an exceptionally open interview, he acknowledged that although he and Robin were brothers, they had never been true friends. He must live with the haunting knowledge that each brother he lost had passed away during periods of estrangement or non-communication. Andy, Maurice, and Robin all died before achieving genuine reconciliation, leaving Barry to bear the unresolved conflicts permanently. This admission directly confirmed what fans had long suspected. Barry detailed this profound sense of performing alone in an interview with the Sun newspaper. He described how performing solo on stage proves extraordinarily difficult because he senses his brother's presence beside him, only to realize he stands alone, an experience he has gradually learned to accept. To manage this overwhelming isolation, Barry created the Mythology Tour following Robin's death, designing performances around massive video screens displaying archival footage of his brothers. He has also revealed that his brothers appear to him frequently when his eyes close, noting that Robin appears often in his dreams. With his siblings gone, he has chosen to embrace the next generation of the Bee Gees. Working alongside his son Stephen Gibb and Morris's daughter Samantha Gibb, he continues advancing the family's musical heritage. Despite having family support, Barry constantly struggles with intense survivor's guilt, wondering why he was chosen to outlive all his younger brothers. He also acknowledges his wife Linda's crucial role in helping him overcome depression and encouraging him to honor his family through continued musical creation. This encouragement resulted in his late career project, Greenfields, in 2021, where Barry reinterpreted classic Bee Gees songs with country music legends. This endeavor demonstrated that while the personal cost of their extraordinary creativity proved immense, their musical legacy remains timeless. Barry Gibb's confession ultimately reminds us that even the most beautiful harmony can mask profound unexpressed pain.